Hello again. You've only got my word for it, but let me assure you, I teach stuff that has affected me. And in other words, I don't try and be academic, I try and teach revelation. Today's message is about Job, life-changing lessons from Job. Now you might think, well, Job, we know the story of Job. He had lots of sons and daughters and he was very rich, etc., etc. And he lost it all and then God restored it to him, end of story. But there are lessons in here which are really applicable to so many people. I would say the majority of people have the problems that Job had. And let's look into it. It's in Job chapter 1, and I'm going to read about the first 3 verses. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright, and one who reverently feared God and abstained from and shunned evil, because it was wrong. And there were born to him 7 sons and 3 daughters. He possessed 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a great body of servants. So this man was the greatest man in all the East. That's in Job chapter 1, verses 1 to 3, the Amplified Bible. So this man was very, very rich. And we see that this man suffered a problem because of a meeting that went on in the courts of heaven. We read down and we see in the first chapter again that you've got the meeting of God speaking to the angels. This is in verse 6. There was a day when the sons of God, in other words the angels, came to present themselves before the Lord, and Satan, the adversary and accuser, also came amongst them. This is in the court of heaven. Now you might wonder right there, what is he doing there? Because Satan was thrown out of heaven. So what's he doing in the court of heaven if he was thrown out somewhat inconspicuously? In Isaiah 14 it says he was thrown out. And Jesus said he saw Satan being thrown down like a lightning flash from heaven in Luke 10. Why was Satan there? Well, in any trial, in any court, you must have an accuser. You must have a prosecuting person, a prosecuting counsel. So in that court of heaven, for that court to be legal, even in heaven, there must be a prosecutor present. So that's why Satan was present. And Satan and the Lord had a conversation, and the Lord said, have you considered my servant Job? Nobody like him on earth, a blameless, upright man who reverently fears God and abstains from evil. And Satan answered and said, you put a hedge around him and all his house. That's why he's like he is. If you just remove the hedge, then things will be different. Now, we've heard of hedge funds, but it's not a hedge fund. In legal terms, this is called a restraining order. God had put a restraining order around Job so that the devil could not touch him, because he was susceptible to the devil's attack and he didn't even know it. Now, why was he susceptible to the devil's attack? Because of his children. Now, there was 7 boys and 3 girls, and every time they had a birthday, these 10 kids, adult, grown-up children, every time there was a birthday, they would have a big feast and a big party. None of the children respected God. Job did nothing to correct them or teach them about God at all. He just let them have parties. And guess who was paying for the parties? All came out of Daddy's purse. So they were costing him dear. And these children were his idols. Now, the first commandment in Exodus 20, thou shalt have no other gods before me. In other words, no idol. Now, Job had 10 kids. He didn't look upon his kids as idols, but he treated them, he idolized them. He gave them everything they wanted, corrected them 0, no correction, plenty of money for parties, plenty of whatever they wanted. And this did not please God because it broke his first commandment. Now, what happened then was, after the conversation of God and Satan, the Lord said to Satan, behold, he's in your power. Don't touch him, but you can do what you want, in other words. And then, on one of the birthdays, there was a great fire of God from heaven and burned up the sheep and the servants, etc. This is in Job 1, verse 16. And then another one came on verse 18. Your sons and daughters were eating and drinking wine, and a great whirlwind in the desert. So fire from heaven and a whirlwind totally wiped out all his kids. Every one of them was killed. And Job did not curse God. He did not say anything against God. He said, in all this did Job not sin and charge God foolishly, in verse 22. Now this was the weak point. This was where the devil could have attacked a long time ago, apart from the hedge of protection, the restraining order. Now, the idols were his children. He worshipped those kids, and God removed those kids. God never protects our idols, he judges them. Now think about your own life. Let's think about our own lives. If you've got children, it's right to love your children, but it's not right to idolize your children and to give them whatever they want. And they'll keep you poor. They will impoverish you. Now, I'm sure I'm speaking to a lot of people, if you're watching this. Children who are not walking with the Lord will impoverish you. They'll spend your money, have parties, waste your money, and so on. And so the children got killed. And Job had to realize what he was doing. He was treating his children as idols. He idolized his children. Many of you watching today will have fallen into this same trap. Oh, I don't do that with my children. See how much money you spend on your children. And when it comes to offering time in church, how much do you give? It's a very easy question to see who is priority in your life. Is it your kids or your grandkids more so? Or is it God? So think about this. Don't let your children become idols, because God will judge idols. Okay, and he'll judge you, and you'll lose a lot of sleep and a lot of happiness in life because you've not obeyed that first commandment. Love God. He's the one who sent his son to die.